Coming up on Jerusalem Dateline, Israel continues to strike Gaza as troops amass on the northern and southern borders. A media expert explains how closely the Palestinian Authority is linked to terror. And our reporters weigh in on a tumultuous week. Plus, Jews and Christians join together to help the displaced and the vulnerable segments of Israel's population. All this and more coming up on this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. Hello and welcome to Jerusalem Dateline. I'm Chris Mitchell. Israel continued its penetration into the Gaza Strip in anticipation of a ground incursion. Meanwhile, the fighting in the region is expanding. The Pentagon announcing U.S. planes launched strikes against Iranian-backed militias after repeated attacks on U.S. bases in Syria and Iraq by drones and rockets.
Again, it is our aim to avoid any regional expansion of Israel's conflict with Hamas, but we stand ready and prepared to protect and defend our partners and our interests, and will act to do so. Finally, in terms of force protection, the message is simple. As Secretary Austin has consistently made clear, we will take all necessary measures to defend our troops and our interests overseas.
The U.S. attack coming as Israeli troops, tanks, and armor conducted a raid into the central Gaza Strip for the second night in a row. The IDF says it struck a number of command and control centers and Hamas terrorists. The IDF also kept up its air campaign and says it has killed a number of Hamas leaders responsible for the October 7th massacre of Jews. Israel is continuing to ask residents of northern Gaza to flee the area and release this phone conversation with the resident of Gaza, who says Hamas is stopping people from getting out of harm's way.
أنا عشان أبقى وسلامتك بدي تنزل ضروري لاتجاه حمينيس. مسكوا كل الطرق طيب. أما كيف مسكروا الطريق؟ فهمني. يعني كيف بتلاقي ناس هم يطلقوا نار على الناس اللي بدهم ينزلوا؟ أيوة.
Iran's foreign minister called on Israel to stop its air attacks on Gaza and warned the war might expand to other parts of the Middle East.
I have realized that according to the scenarios set by Hezbollah, any step the resistance will take will result in a huge earthquake against the Zionist entity.
He also warned at the UN that they will strike the U.S. if Israel persists in its bombing of the Gaza Strip. Amid the fighting, former U.S. envoy Jason Greenblatt strongly criticized President Joe Biden's call for a two-state solution, allowing for a Palestinian state in the Middle East just 3 weeks after the killing of 1,400 Israelis, tweeting, "There's no going back to the status quo."
What a beautiful name it is.
In the U.S., Christians showing their support for Israel. Liberty University held a prayer vigil.
Because we ask that you break our heart for what breaks yours, Lord.
And on Thursday, a roundtable of Christian leaders in America also spoke out on behalf of the Jewish state.
The American Christian Leaders for Israel is a network of Christian leaders who collaborate in support of Israel and the Jewish people. And in just 5 days, we were able to garner the signatures of over 115 Christian leaders from over 100 organizations to sign on 3 letters. The well-being of Israel and the Jewish people worldwide is important to us. And so we wanted to add the strength of our voice to that of the people of Israel and the various Jewish organizations working on these issues.
We continue to pray for all of those, including the Palestinians who have been placed in harm's way by Hamas, not by Israel. And NRB stands in complete and full support of Israel. And we bless all the people of Israel, and we will continue to pray for them.
As the world sees the evil of Hamas, many see the Palestinian Authority, led by President Mahmoud Abbas, as a moderate alternative to the terror group. Evidence from this past week of action taken by the group's religious leaders disputes that idea. I spoke with an expert who reports on and publicizes what the PA and its various arms tell their own people. Last Friday, the Palestinian Authority Ministry of Religion sent this notice to its mosques, instructing imams to make a certain point in their sermons and prayers.
One of the things they should talk about is quoting the Hadith, the Islamic tradition that calls for literally the genocide of Jews. This is what the Palestinian Authority Ministry of Religion told their religious leaders to talk about today.
That Hadith quote reads, "The judgment hour will not begin until you fight the Jews, until a Jew will hide behind a rock or a tree, and the rock or tree will say, 'O Muslim, O slave of Allah, here is a Jew behind me, come and kill him.'"
That's what the PA told its people today, and if you go to our website, palwatch.org, you'll find many examples of Palestinian religious leaders saying that on official Palestinian TV for many, many years.
For close to 30 years, Itamar Marcus has reported on this promotion of terror. After the October 7th massacre, Marcus posted how the deputy chairman of the Fatah political party and an aide to PA President Mahmoud Abbas praised Hamas in this tweet. "We say to you that the blood of the heroes will turn into a curse that will remove this occupier. All those who stand behind it and all those who do not support our people."
We think of the Hamas as being the ones who deny Jews the right to exist. Fatah does as well. The basic difference is Hamas was a stronger military. They succeeded. They did what Fatah would love to have done, but didn't do it because they were unable.
What is the relationship between Fatah and the Palestinian Authority?
Fatah and the Palestinian Authority is basically one and the same. The head of the Palestinian Authority is Mahmoud Abbas. The head of Fatah is Mahmoud Abbas. Many of the senior officials in Fatah are the senior officials of the Palestinian Authority. Fatah is the political party that rules the Palestinian Authority, so that they're essentially one and the same.
Even so, President Joe Biden pledged $100 million to the PA and humanitarian aid in Gaza and remains committed to a two-state solution.
Biden also said that Hamas don't represent the Palestinian people. And that was just a terrible mistake. I don't know what intelligence people he has, or if he's just expressing a wish from his heart. But if you look at the Palestinian world, not just today after this atrocity, but the Palestinian world for the last few years, Hamas has been the more popular. So Hamas definitely represents the Palestinian people at this point.
Marcus says the PA is now calling on Palestinians in the West Bank to rise up against Israel.
We're right now publicizing all of the Palestinian Authority's support for this terror invasion. Palestinian Authority has been broadcasting calls for people to join, for West Bank, for Judea and Samaria Arabs to join in the terror against Israel.
Marcus says the world is not seeing the true face of the Palestinian Authority.
The tragedy is that the world has seen the Palestinian Authority as a quote-unquote peace partner all these years. They have funded them. They've given them money. They used all that money to educate a generation of Palestinians that they have the obligation to fight to destroy Israel. They have obligation to fight to kill Jews. Hamas today and its power is the result not of Hamas education. It's the result of Palestinian Authority education. They're the ones who educated this entire generation. And when Hamas comes with an agenda that fits the PA education, that's why they're so popular today. They're seen as the authentic movement that's fulfilling the education that the Palestinian Authority has been teaching them. That's why Palestinian Authority is not the solution. They are the fundamental source of the problem.
Coming up, Israel shows journalists the uncensored horror of Hamas's massacre. The images too gruesome for the public. We reflect on what we saw with our own eyes when we come back.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of Christian World News. I'm George Thomas.
And I'm Wendy Griffith. Good to have you with us.
It is influencing policy.
ISIS continues to grab the international spotlight.
Sudan is not a lost cause. There is great opportunity here for the gospel.
It's become the engine driving the Chinese economy. With a population of 7 million, the city is the home to many international businesses. And
Puerto Ricans say once the power comes back, life will get back to normal quicker. Eric Rosales, CBN News.
This month, Israel's government invited Christian journalists to Jerusalem. CBN's Chris Mitchell has details.
The Christian journalists were honored by Israel's prime minister, president, and political leaders.
Hello, my name's Beth and I want to make you aware that you can now pray with CBN on WhatsApp. If you add our number 07833 993924 into your mobile phone contacts, you can message us via WhatsApp and we will reply and pray with you. We really want to make it easier for you to connect with CBN Prayer and see our God move on your behalf. Don't forget, you can then also let us know how God has answered your prayers. The WhatsApp number again is 07833 993924. We look forward to connecting with you. Thank you.
Israel is fighting denials that Hamas butchered and murdered Israelis by showing foreign journalists uncensored footage of the October 7th attack. It changed the world's perception of Israel's claims of barbarity. Julie Stahl and John Waggy spoke with me about this eventful week. John, Julie, great to be with you. John, first, we're 3 weeks into the war now. What's some of your perspective?
Well, first of all, Israel clearly remains the epicenter and has been for the past 3 weeks, been a vacuum for news. The entire world has been paying attention. I think what we're going to see beyond this, we're already starting to see it, where you have airstrikes from the U.S. into Syria and Iraq to nail Iranian interests there. So the scope of the field of battle is expanding, and at the same time, the scope of the threat is expanding, not just to Israel and some of the surrounding countries, but now you've got Iran threatening the United States. If Israel doesn't stop the bombing, we will start targeting American interests. That doesn't just have to mean Iraq and Syria. It could go to New York, Dallas, you name it. With the porous border that we've had in the United States, who knows what they've been setting up. And a lot of this has been pre-planned. And that brings us to Europe, where there are at least a dozen cities where thousands are marching and in the streets of Berlin actually shouting death to the Jews again 80 years later.
Well,
you know, it's remarkable. But Europe is starting to enforce laws, or at least say they're going to enforce laws, that ban anti-Semitism. Now, what's that going to do to the huge coming up in the days and weeks ahead, I think?
Yeah. Julie, even now, 3 weeks after, there's been stories of, horrific stories of people actually being discovered.
Yeah, that's true, Chris. One story I heard yesterday was they had found a man dead in his shelter in one of the kibbutzim near the border, one of the communities, and they couldn't find his wife. They assumed she had been kidnapped, but there was this pile of ashes in the same room, and they brought in actually archaeologists with their equipment, and they discovered a jawbone. She was gone, but that was all that was left of her. Another one of the stories we heard this week was about the Hamas terrorist that called his parents and was boasting about that he had killed 10 Jews and he had their blood on their blood on his hands, and he was telling them, "Look at the pictures, look on my WhatsApp," and you know, I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's just chilling. I heard that too. John, do people really in the West, Europe, and especially the U.S., did they really understand the danger that this poses, not just to Israel, but to them as well?
I think some do. I think there's a dividing point, and we've seen it on the college campuses in the United States where literally Jewish students in New York were hiding out in the library because of threats against them. I don't think that the people who are protesting against Israel are as aware of the dangers that may actually come to them. But there is a huge portion of the Americans saying they support Israel, and I think they're aware of the dangers. They just may not want to face it on American soil, but they do want to help Israel from afar.
Yeah, and also Mike Johnson, the new Speaker of the House, his first action was to support Israel. Julie, the other night, you and I went to a prayer meeting right overlooking the Western Wall, something redemptive in the midst of all this really tragedy and chaos.
It was very redemptive, I thought. It really like you said, it was the global day of prayer for the missing and the hostages. And the two chief rabbis of Israel, Sephardic and Ashkenazi, were both there. They were, it was at the Eish HaTorah yeshiva there, and they were praying psalms. And you had secular Israelis and religious Israelis, and everybody was really standing together. And it was very precious, very, very precious, I thought, and very humble and a good spirit, crying out to God with God's very own words.
Yeah.
So it was special.
Yeah, and even Sasha, who we interviewed here in this studio, was there as well, and she said it was so comforting to her. Julie, John, thanks for joining us, and we'll be continuing our coverage and perspective on this Israel at war. Up next, Jews and Christians team up to help Israelis escape Hamas's terror.
Hi everyone, I'm Beth Parkinson. I'm here at our CBN office in Hereford, England, and it's so good to be with you on the 700 Club. Today I want to tell you a story about a mum and her daughter from Milton Keynes and how God is using your financial partnership to bring Superbook and the gospel to their family. Bunmi has been raising her 8-year-old daughter Johanna as a single parent. She's an engineer and a regular viewer of the 700 Club. She told us how she saw the story of a boy from Ecuador who had watched Superbook.
And he talked about the impact that Superbook had had in his life. It was so profound for me, for a child at that age to say that. And I thought, oh my gosh, it can't hurt to get this for Johanna.
Bunmi called the CBN Prayer Centre, just like we're asking you to do today, and became a CBN partner. She also began watching Superbook with Johanna.
Superbook is that it's helped her to realize that the Bible is still relevant. Before, I would be trying to read the Bible story to her and trying to explain it to her. Now, she's the one that tells me what she reflects out of Superbook.
One day, Johanna watched the Superbook episode, He is Risen.
Mommy told me that if you do sin, the punishment of sin is death, but God always forgives you.
So Johanna prayed and asked Jesus to forgive her and come into her life. How amazing! If you would like to know more about Superbook, then please call the number on your screen, or you can log on to cbneurope.com/Superbook. Thank you.
Jewish and Christian groups are joining forces to help Israelis escape the fighting and rockets near Gaza. CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl brings us a story from Jerusalem.
These children are having fun peacefully at a special event organized in Jerusalem after they were evacuated from southern Israel. These moms, Ortal Haddad and Ella Tovim Gadassi, say they were keeping the Sabbath at their homes in the farming community of Mashen near Ashkelon when Hamas attacked.
We hear the rockets, unstoppable rockets, for the first time. Because we don't have a shelter, we cover our kids, me and my husband, on the ground and say all the time Tehillim, from Tehillim.
Psalms.
Yes, all the time. We are so scared, you know, I couldn't breathe. I felt that I can't breathe for the first time.
It was an awful week for us in Mashen. Most of the time we spent at the shelters and it was forbidden to go out. We felt unsecured, we felt unprotected. As a parents, we felt like we cannot protect our children. If a terrorist will come, I have nothing that I can do.
David Nekrutman of Isaiah Projects says they hope to restore a sense of security to these people.
We said we're going to adopt a community. With my friends, and after 23 years of working with different organizations involved in Jewish-Christian relations over the years, everyone came together and saying, we're standing behind you, David.
9 days after the beginning of the war, Nekrutman and other ministries helped evacuate Moshav Mashen to Jerusalem.
We evacuated nearly 50 families from a community that was near the Gaza border because of missile attacks from Gaza into the Israeli communities on the southern border. We felt it was our responsibility of pooling resources between Jews and Christians together. So we have a whole bunch of ministries working together to make this happen here in Jerusalem.
We didn't hear the rockets, we didn't hear the missiles, and we were very, very calm to be here, so we feel safe. You know, for the first time, we can breathe, finally. And our baby don't have to walk up in the middle of the night crying.
Both Haddad and Gaddafi expressed their gratitude for the rescue.
We want to thank the Christian, okay, who gave us the donation, which is incredible for me, that they care about us.
I'm surprised to hear that it's people not from Israel, it's American, and it's Christian American, and made me think that when you truly care about someone, when you truly love someone, you doesn't care what he's religious, where does he live.
As a teenager, Haddad had to evacuate her home almost 20 years ago when Israel uprooted some 9,000 Israelis from communities in the Gaza Strip and northern West Bank as part of the 2005 disengagement. While Israeli and Palestinian leaders described that as a move toward peace, it instead led to Hamas winning control of the region, followed by incessant fighting and now war.
This situation, it's because we left our home, because we gave our land, the God land, to the Hamas, okay? For me, it's only for the Hamas, okay? And I want to go back home. I want to feel safe. You know, in Gush Katif, I felt safe. Now I don't feel safe.
Nick Rootman says while much of the world has condemned Israel and calls to free Palestine, he believes that means being free of Hamas and urges Christians to pray.
I would say to our Christian brothers and sisters out there, if you're praying, pray for our enemies to turn their hearts to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and then see the light and actually make real peace.
Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Still ahead, how CBN Israel is providing food and a little peace of mind to vulnerable Israelis.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans! Here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
No Super Falls, man. Come with...
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes, too. And so much more! Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
The danger and fear of war can be felt across Israel. That can especially weigh on the elderly. And as Paul Strand reports, CBN Israel is working with key groups to help lessen the trauma.
This Tel Aviv apartment complex is jam full of elderly refugees, Holocaust survivors, and folks too in need of care or too cash-strapped to be on their own. With volley after volley of missiles sent their way, almost daily from Gaza, they face the very real threat of death should they be out in the streets.
Israel is a very small place. Everything is close. The bombings that have happened out of Gaza have reached Tel Aviv almost every day.
The Jewish Agency's Danielle Moore.
If you are a person in your 80s, in your 90s, very frail, how are you even going to manage when there is a siren and you're outside? How are you going to reach a place of safety?
So what's happening here is that places like the Jewish Agency, combined with CBN Israel and others, are providing these huge food boxes and water to make sure that these residents can stay right here in the building, right near shelters.
Not to be on the street to do shopping and errands and risking that they would be hit by a missile or shrapnel and caught off guard when there is a siren. We want to keep them safe.
And feeling cared for.
It's just also interacting, smile, hug, just allowing people to know that they're not alone.
CBN Israel's Dan Carlson says Israelis rarely feel safe with enemies surrounding them on all sides. And the October 7 fallout has multiplied that sense.
It's like the nation is in trauma right now, the whole nation.
And when you think about the elderly, many of them Holocaust survivors, and all the traumas and hardships that they went through in their life, now being in a situation of siren after siren, understanding that their life is at risk, is something unbearable.
So residents like Helen Maloon say they're ever so grateful to be cared for like they are here.
Oh, it's very helpful. I'm about to cry. Excitement.
Valentina Borodin even broke into song. In it, she asked God to bring peace, shalom, to Israel.
Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Israel.
In times like these, the line between Christian and Jew disappears.
We know that CBN is there when it matters and that you are there to bring the story of Israel to millions of people that care and support and pray at this time. So it's very important to us to have this friendship with you.
Though these are trying times, CBN Israel's E.T.L. Bueller felt joy prepping and passing out these care packages.
It doesn't feel good to stay at home and watch TV and the news, and when you go out and do things for the people and you see their smiles and everybody's happy, it just makes me very happy to see that, really.
And being helped makes many of these cash-strapped folks also want to help.
When they know that they are cared for, it gives them a sense of pride and it gives them also a desire to help others. We've had Amigul residents that with their meager allowance collect food and packages and ask us to send it to the soldiers. That they give, their 5 shekels, their $2, so that we can also give care packages to soldiers at the front.
Paul Strand, CBN News, reporting from Tel Aviv.
Well, that's all for this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. Thanks for joining us. You can access our daily war updates on Facebook and YouTube. And remember to pray for the peace of Jerusalem and the return of all the hostages from Gaza. I'm Chris Mitchell. We'll see you next time on Jerusalem Dateline.
If you need prayer or would like to partner with CBN Europe, then please call 0300 561 0700 or visit our website cbneurope.com today.